at WBOK 12:30 a.m. Grateful to be here because yes, once again the good Lord woke me up, decided to give me yet another day on his good earth, and I am happy that he planted my feet on the floor, made sure I got things going, did all the things I had to do, got me in the vehicle safely, made sure I was paying attention to get on over to our Black Talk radio station on Norman C. Francis Parkway in the beautiful South Campus of Xavier University of Louisiana. So thank you so much for blessing me with this day, Lord. And thank you all for deciding to spend some time with us on the Good Morning Show. You can listen to us on WBOK 12:30 a.m. And you can also listen and watch on WBOK's YouTube channel. Of course, we love our friends and Facebook family on Facebook Live on the WBOK page. And you can tune in via the WBOK website. And also, of course, for your folks who are a little more hip and younger and like to be in the social media things, Instagram, aka IG. So you can find us any number of ways. We hope you will tune in throughout the show. It's a fantastic day on a number of reasons. Of course, we got some news and information we got to share. All of it's not good news, but we've got to share it anyway. And we're looking forward to a good show today, talking about a number of things, including local and state politics and judiciary kinds of things, and hope to have a conversation about flooding out in the river parishes because that's something that was in the news early to mid last month, around the time of Arthur. But man, it hasn't been in the news. But those people are still suffering, and want to hear more about that if we can. If any of you all are in the river parishes, would love to hear from you about what's going on, because as we know well, in New Orleans and other parts of South Louisiana, when the water comes in, it doesn't just disappear. And it doesn't, when it does go down, it leaves a lot of wet things and damaged property and all types of things. So, look, let's tell you about the weather. It's a beautiful sunny day out there. It's sunny at the moment, but it's going to be thunderstorms and thunderstorms through part of this morning. So you might want to get your rain umbrella, aka umbrella. Make sure you have that if you're going out in the next couple of hours. For those of you all who haven't looked outside yet, don't be fooled by what you see, because we got 82% chance of rain this hour, and then the next hour is going to be like 38, 40%, which means it's probably going to rain somewhere. And then as the day goes on, the precipitation is going to shrink into the low teens and even single digits. But it's going to be partly sunny, partly cloudy, get cloudy again. Going into the afternoon is going to jump on up to about 49, 50% chance of rain as we go from 81 degrees at this hour on up to about 88 degrees later in the day. So you might want to prepare for a variety of dress to make sure that you are going to be okay today. And if you've got little ones, your own your own by choice, or your own by relation, or whatever, make sure that they understand that what they see now is not what is likely to happen. So make sure that you are prepared. Make sure that they are prepared. And if you got somewhere to be at 7:15, it's 7:05 now. So you've got about 10 minutes to get there. Now you got about 9 minutes to get there. So make sure you take care of all of your personal business at home before you get your vehicle of whatever kind. And make sure you are not one of the crazy drivers. Make sure you attend to your business within legal limits. The school zone speed limits are not in effect, but we got kiddos all around Nord and day camps and summer camps and streets and highways and byways. Yep, highways, because some of them are taking walks that maybe they shouldn't be taking. So watch out for them all over the place, please. I beg you to be careful with them. So, look, we've got all kinds of things going on. I'm flying solo here today. And, one of those things is that we have some flashback of sorts with the Louisiana Attorney General, Liz Murrow, because there's a grand jury probe of the AG. So, a criminal grand jury probe, according to several sources that told the Times Picayune and the Advocate on Tuesday and told other news media as well, that this is real. This is happening. So, the criminal grand jury apparently, uh, grand juries are convened for a number of reasons, but usually some cases are brought to the grand jury. But a grand jury can, on its own, decide to say, I think we should look at this. It seems that's what has happened, that someone or someone's on the grand jury said, we think that we should look at these threatening letters that the AG has sent to the mayor, the district attorney, several of the city council members, and retired Judge um, Calvin Johnson. So the grand jury asked to look into that, and that means it must be looked into. So as a result, a retired judge has been called in for the case, and that case will be moving forward as an investigation. So let's be clear, it's an investigation, a grand jury investigation. So no one has been indicted at this point. But let's just recall what happened because the um, this is prompted by Liz Murrow's letters that she sent um, a few weeks ago to these several folks to say when they appointed interim clerk Calvin Duncan as a temporary measure to hold a spot for Calvin Duncan while the legal process went through. So the decision was to have an interim clerk to make sure that there was a criminal court clerk and a civil court clerk, because the legislature and Governor Landry and Governor Murrow, although she says she didn't have anything to do with it, they proceeded to push through a law to eliminate the criminal district court clerk role, and did so the last few days, then hours, to make sure that it was passed and signed into law quickly so that Calvin Duncan couldn't take his seat that he was elected to with about 65% of the vote. The mayor, city council members, a number of other people argued that how can you take away a seat from someone and forget someone, Calvin Duncan, from voters in Orleans Parish who duly elected someone, chose someone for a specific seat, and you're going to take it away? You don't have that right. You don't have that authority. That's the case. Well, the AG said, oh, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do have that responsibility to uphold the law because the law is clear, and you must officially retract, quote unquote. Not my words, her words in the letters. Officially retract what you have done, because otherwise you face, quote, possible forfeiture of your own office, close quote. Now, if you were at a workplace or in some type of business relationship and someone told you to, quote, officially retract, close quote, something you have written, something you have done, and it's clear that this has been a dispute, a discussion, a debate, and they demanded that, would you consider it a joke or would you consider it a threat? And if they went on to say, I have the power to remove you, and if you don't do what I said, I will remove you. So therefore, you face, quote, possible forfeiture of your own office, close quote. So that meant she was saying she has the power to remove the mayor, to remove the DA, and to remove 5 or 7 council members who voted in favor of the interim clerk appointment. Is that a joke? Is that a demand? Is that a threat? Well, I see what they have done, and they're making a clear, they being a grand jury, they're making a clear reference to 14-122. You can look it up on your own if you care to. While I'm talking about this, you can look it up later. 14:122. That is the public intimidation and retaliation law. Public intimidation and retaliation law. I admit, I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'm going to read enough of these words because it is lengthy. I'm going to read enough of these words so that you can get the drift of this law, and you tell me if what she did is intimidation. The law, quote, public intimidation is the use of violence, force, threats, or true threats upon any of the following persons with the intent to influence his conduct in relation to his position, employment, or duty, close quote. Then there's a list of types of people that are referenced in the law when it says the following persons. Number 1 in a list of types of people. Number 1, public officer or public employee. Is the mayor a public officer or a public employee? Is the DA a public officer or an employee? Or city council members a public employee or public officer? And what about interim clerk Calvin Johnson? Is he a public officer or a public employee? Was he ever a public officer or a public employee? At the time of the appointment, the temporary appointment, the admitted temporary appointment as interim clerk, they didn't say we're appointing a clerk because they felt that Calvin Duncan won the election and he's the duly elected clerk who should have that office. But at the time, was he a public officer or a public employee? I think so. And I've read the law. Public intimidation and retaliation law. Public intimidation and retaliation law. So she wants to point to laws that says that she has the responsibility, their authority, to demand that people retract what they have done, and to go on beyond that to say you face possible, possible forfeiture of your own office. Okay, possible. That's like telling somebody, if you don't shut up, and they're holding your fist to you. If you don't show up and they pull out a knife. If you don't shut up and they pull out a gun. Is that a joke? Is that a careful consideration reference? Or is that a threat? I feel like that's a threat if you're coming at me like that. Now, there are some folks who have seen this action, and some prominent attorneys and experienced attorneys. I admit I'm not a legislator. I am not a legal expert. I am not a lawyer. I am not a judge. But they argue that if you're going to look at Liz Murrill for public intimidation, then there's a whole lot of other people who should be charged with public intimidation. Okay, I say, who are they? What did they do? Let's hold it up against the law and see if it stands up. Because right now, the grand jury is doing an investigation. No one's been indicted, no one's been charged. But I think that's one of the things that needs to happen sometimes is we go beyond what somebody says and do some research. We do a study. We do an investigation to determine whether to move forward. Well, that's what's happening here. And the basis seems to be the very law that I just pointed out, 14122. You look it up. You look it up. Or I just read it to you and read parts of it. And I'd like to know what you think about what she did. And was that public intimidation? Did she threaten retaliation when the law says, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this? When you violate the law, should you be held accountable? Well, we will see. This is just desserts, a little taste of your own medicine. I don't know. I'd love to hear any of you who think that this is a bunch of BS. But if you think it's not, and you think this is something that should be pursued, I'd love to hear that too. It is 7:19 a.m. In just a minute or so, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with more news and information right here on the Good Morning Show. What's that talk line number? 504 582 9422. 504 582 9422. Give us a ring. Give us a call. Give us a comment about what you think about this grand jury investigation of Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill, or if something else is on your mind. This is WBOK 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
And here are today's headlines for you. Attorney General Liz Murrill is doubling down on letters sent to New Orleans leaders after hearing she may be the subject of a grand jury investigation. The investigation centers on letters the AG sent to Mayor Helena Moreno, DA Jason Williams, and members of City Council. That is after Mayor Moreno called for a special election and appointed an interim clerk after a bill consolidating court clerks passed. The letters urge them to cooperate with newly passed Act 15 legislation or lose their jobs. The AG says she hasn't been notified of the investigation and that she stands by the letters. Well, this year's Essence Festival kicks off the July 4th weekend, and the Essence Festival media kickoff is at 9:30 this morning at the Convention Center. While you're enjoying all of the culture, the music, and the food, Festival leaders do want you to stay safe. There is a Designate Before You Celebrate campaign. The goal is to prevent serious injuries and deaths on the roads during the holiday weekend. And that's a look for you at today's headlines. I'm Elizabeth.
On Auto Trends with JeffCars.com, here's a snippet of some of what we cover. GPS pioneer Gladys West.
We worked long hours computing trajectory orbits and satellite orbits, trying to get the data and everything correct enough.
Auto analyst Mark Bland.
14 new vehicle deals that happen in this country out of every 100 that women don't have a fingerprint on.
To tune in, check out Auto Trends with JeffCars.com, Saturdays at 4 p.m. on WBOK. What New Orleans is talking about.
Interest rates and inflation are out of control. Is your credit card debt also out of control? It's time to resolve your debt and take back control for a lot less than what you owe. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, then you need to call us right now. Debt Fix Pros can significantly reduce the amount you owe, and you could be debt-free faster than you think.
I knew we had to do something. Our debt was growing.
It was getting out of control, and we just didn't know what to do.
We saw an ad for Debt Fix Pros. We called, and they showed us how fast they could get us out of debt.
It really was amazing, and now we're back in control.
Call now, and we'll show you how easy it is to fix your debt. The call and consultation are free. Call Debt Fix Pros right now at 800-311-5977. That's 800-311-5977. 800-311-5977.
This is Andronica Morris, host of Put Housing First. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, where we will discuss how housing affects every aspect of our lives and what's necessary, what's needed to guarantee housing for all. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock as we dig down deep onto the issues that affect all of us.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
More 90s, feeling like the 100s, and daily scattered showers expected. We'll see highs today, 90 to 95 degrees, feeling like 100 to 105 in some spots. A few scattered showers are possible later this morning on into the afternoon. Some of these could contain some heavy downpours, but it won't be an entire washout for the day. 74 to 80 degrees for tonight. For tomorrow, 91 to 97. For the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven.
Good morning. Wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am Will Sutton. It's 7:24 a.m. We've got some bright, sunny weather at the moment, but it's getting cloudy about by the minute. Be careful. If you got to be somewhere at 7:30, you got just a few minutes, and you got a little bit more time. You got to be there by 8, but make sure you know it's about to rain somewhere, and that somewhere is getting to be a larger and larger geographic area. Well, if it's Thursday and it's the Good Morning Show, you know it is time for none other than our own Congressman Troy Carter, and we're going to be jumping into that conversation. But yes, folks, I see you. I know you're hopping about what just happened and what's going on with the grand jury probe and anything. So hold on to those thoughts, because we got the congressman. He's got a busy schedule, and we got to jump in the conversation with him. But we'll get to you in time. Good morning, Congressman. You're on with Will Sutton, and that's it.
Hey, good morning, Will. Eddie's not with you today?
No, Eddie, no Ro, no Ashley, nope. I'm in here solo today. You want to come in?
Well, you can handle it, brother. You can handle it.
I got a seat here for you.
All right, man. I'm virtually with you.
You're right. Well,
God bless you, brother. Let's have some good conversation.
All right. Well, I want to talk about a couple things in particular. One is the Educate Act, and another is the NFIP Act. But before we get into that, can you give us a little overview about all the madness that we continue to see just in the last few days, as late as yesterday and the last few days, all kinds of stuff happening in Washington, D.C., and not the least of which is the, I guess it's the Freedom 250 Mall show?
Yeah. That turned out to be somewhat of a flop. Nobody showed up. Which I think is demonstrative of the mood of Americans, or even those who were once enamored with President Trump, are starting to realize that they've been duped. That the application of resources are going toward things that give him joy, while leaving the American people with the short end of the stick. Rather, it's millions of dollars on a reflecting pool, millions and millions of dollars on tearing down the east wing of the White House, threatening to tear down the Kennedy Center because his name couldn't be on it, or any other of the personal pet projects, not to mention the war of choice in Iran that has put our American soldiers at risk. I think people are starting to see this is not a time for a party. This is not a time to have self-aggrandizement, and that this president has, I'm reluctant to say lost his way, because I question if he ever had his way as it relates to the American people. But what you're seeing, I think, are people starting to realize. You're seeing more and more Republicans in both House and Senate who are finding their voices finally to demonstrate that, listen, man, healthcare needs to be addressed. Housing needs to be addressed. Minimum wage needs to be addressed. Economic justice needs to be addressed. Issues of equal pay for women need to be addressed. Our failing economy that's hurting African Americans and people of color disproportionately need to be addressed. These senseless wars where we're spending billions of dollars because of ego need to be addressed. The war in Gaza needs to be addressed. We can no longer sit back and act as if this isn't happening. It's happening. People are dying. Humanitarian aid is being denied to millions of people in the Middle East, while Netanyahu boasts of using Trump as his stalking horse to hurt people. Listen, these things are real, and we've got to deal with them. And this president continues to fancy himself with wanting to be the designer in chief instead of dealing with real issues. He yesterday or day before yesterday, he says this monumental housing bill that we talked about, that is one of the most consequential pieces of housing legislation since the LBJ era. He says it's a big yawn. Affordability is a big yawn. He says the economy is bad, and I love it that way. Come on, man, give me a break. Mm-hmm. Listen to these comments. This is the President of the United States of America. There should be outrage from every corner. Not quiet outrage from the Republican Party, but vocal. Because if Barack Obama had said even one of those things, if Joe Biden had said even one of those things, if Bill Clinton had said even one of those things, the world would have come to an end.
Well,
And if somebody thinks somebody disagrees, I challenge them to a debate.
yeah. Well, it's fascinating to see how he was so determined to end what exists of Iran, and then take out the leadership, and then this will be over, and bust them to smithereens. And now the tentative agreement says we're going to give them billions.
Yes.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
And
what they've done, instead of weakening them with the Strait of Hormuz, he has given them the ultimate tool to hold us hostage. He has created for them a formula they may not even be able to contemplate themselves on how they can hold the rest of the world hostage. That doesn't sound like a very good negotiator to me. It sounds like someone who's completely over their head and out of touch. Yet they continue to try to execute Project 2025, to take health care away from the poorest poor, to rip Medicaid out of the hands of people who need it, and sit around and figure out how to further hurt people who are hungry by saying you can't buy rotisserie chicken with your SNAP benefits. Give me a break. You don't have anything better to do?
Well, you mentioned previous presidents, Congressman, and the one closest to dealing with something like this that I recall, and of course, as always, correct me if I'm wrong or add some context, is Barack Obama's and his Iran deal from back, I think it was about 2015. But that was more of a comprehensive, negotiated, months-long, maybe even years-long, global power input with the UK and France and Germany, and all of them talking through what steps and what should go into something like this. It has phase requirements, specific things that Iran had to do. And yes, there was some money attached to that, but there was no taking away the Strait of Hormuz. And there were very clear things that they had to do and agree to. With this one, it seems to be essentially the United States and Israel with a framework that they have delayed to say that when we get to the end of the 60-day project, we'll keep negotiating. How is that a better deal than what Barack Obama did?
It's not a better deal. It's a warmed over. First of all, he canceled what Barack Obama's deal was, putting us in harm's way. Then he came back and tried to bully his way through with threats and bravado, which pitifully failed. And then he comes back and tries to reintroduce Barack Obama's plan under a different title, as he often does, as he tried to do with the BEAD program, to stop progress on fiber in Louisiana and across the country, only to try to rebrand it under his name, as he did with the housing bill that could have passed under Biden administration but was held up for Trump, to rebrand for him, as he did with most things that he tries to put his name on something that was successful and claim he did it, like the Kennedy Center, a memorial for John F. Kennedy. He decides he wants to put his name on somebody else's memorial. I mean, there is a clear pattern here, and now he's done the same thing with Iran, except he has totally ruined it and put America and Americans in harm's way. If you look at Barack Obama's plan and you look at what he's now trying to offer, it's eerily similar, and he's now trying to find an exit. He's trying to get the egg off of his face and claim victory, as he does every single day. Remember, this is the president who said that on day one he was going to bring the price of eggs and rice and food and everyday expenses down. They've all exponentially gone up. This is the president who said that he is going to get us out of wars. He has entered us into wars. When President Biden was in office, every Republican and Democrat alike stood on the steps of the Capitol. I was standing there with them. We pledged our support financially to crush Russia and to help Ukraine defeat this Russia-started war. We were making way too much progress. Ukraine was kicking Russia's butt. Trump halts and pulls the funding away because he's enamored with despots. He's enamored with bullies. So if you look at the patterns, look at what's happening in Iran. This is all very clear. And I just don't get why the American people aren't seeing it faster. You know, I have not been shy about challenging this president or challenging the evil ways of this administration. Every platform I have, I use to talk about and to call out these atrocities. And I challenge my other colleagues to do the same. Let's make our voices big and loud. Let's shame the Republicans into doing the right thing, to talk about what they talk about in private out public. This is wrong. This is neither Republican nor Democrat. This is just straight evil. And it's anti-American.
Well, let's talk
and it's
about
anti-humanity.
Yep, I got you. I agree with you. So let's talk about the Educate Act. We got some people who want to talk to you, but I want to make sure we get to these couple of things that I mentioned. And
well, you know, I'm very proud of the Educate Act, and I'll tell you what the in Congress we often have these long acronyms to describe bills that we've introduced. Well, this is one of those long ones: Educating and Developing University Cannabis Agriculture Techniques and Excellence Act, Educate Act. And what it does, it creates a pathway for minority students to explore and study job, cultivation, research, business, and policy sectors around the legal marijuana market. This is the next frontier of the billion-trillion-dollar tech of the 90s or the 2000s. This is the tech, and I want to make sure that in the area of research and cultivation that HBCUs are not left behind. So what the Educate Act does is it creates a framework that strengthens programs at HBCUs. They can ensure students from historically underserved communities can get into these areas and learn the business of and participate in the high growth field in agriculture, research, and advanced manufacturing. It provides $5 million in annual research and operational funding to HBCUs so they can get into this area of research. We know that it's fast moving. If we are not intentional and deliberate about making sure that African Americans are able to compete and engage, it will not happen. That's what the Educate Act does, and I'm proud to be the sponsor of that, along with my colleague Dina Titus.
So, what's the interest of Dina Titus in something like this? I mean, living here, being one of your constituents, watching these businesses grow, I can see why you would be interested in this topic generally, and also being sure that we get a chance to be educated about this and participate. Your co-sponsor, what's her interest? Why did you tie her in with this?
Well, Dina is from Nevada, and so the interest there is around HSIs, historically Hispanic university. So that is the tie, HBCUs and HSIs. So it creates an opportunity across both lines to have disadvantaged minority institutions being able to partake in this area.
Well, this is the kind of thing that we need you and others in Congress to fight for, to push for. But in these days and times when we talk about some of the things that have letters DEI and minority serving, Hispanic serving, black minority, a bunch of people don't like that. How can we get over those hurdles?
Well, listen,
With
just
this in
because they don't
particular.
like, well, and I hear you, and you're right. It's a hurdle because we know that they're fighting anything that seems to suggest fairness. But we are not going to stop just because they don't like it. Don't mean we're going to stop offering it. They're going to fight us, but so what? We're used to them fighting us. I'm not going to stop my efforts of upward mobility for my people because this clown doesn't like it. We're going to keep pushing forward, and if we can't pass it under this administration, we'll pass it under the next. But the last thing we can afford to do is to stop waking up every morning and swinging at that bat just because the pitcher is throwing dirty balls. Man, I'm going to show up to bat every day, every morning, every minute, and I'm going to keep swinging until their pitcher's arm falls off. And that's how we have to approach this. We cannot be discouraged nor disencouraged from showing up to fight. And I'm going to keep drafting bills that I think will improve the lot of African Americans and minorities and those who have been left behind every day that there's breath in my lungs, and let them keep shooting it down. One thing, I will not give them a chance to say, well, it looks like they stopped, because we're never going to quit. And so you're right. They're going to fight this. I'm well aware of that. They fight a lot of legislation that I offer, but we get some through. And we're going to get this through somehow, and we're going to try to encourage some of our other colleagues on the other side of the aisle to join us and recognize that having everyone having a fair shot at opportunity, education, and research benefits everyone, not just those who are getting the benefit. An educated population is a better population. Giving opportunities to our young people to learn and to be a part of the economic growth is something that we are never going to stop pushing for. One of the other things that's important about the Educate Act is it creates a $100,000 annual scholarship for undergraduate and graduate students who pursues their studies in cannabis agriculture. It's a wide open field. And whether you agree with cannabis, you like it, you don't like it, 39 or 40 states in the union have some shape, form, or fashion of cannabis use, whether it is for medicinal purposes or recreational purposes. It is here. It is here to stay. It's going to continue to boom, and we need to make sure that HBCUs, HSIs, and other communities of interest are not left behind in the research side, the medicinal side, and the opportunity to own businesses, rather it's from the agricultural standpoint, research on how to create better medicines to address cancer, leukemia, anxiety, PTSD, and all the other various areas where cannabis has been proven to be medicinally sound to help people relieve with pain or anxiety.
Okay. Well, I was made aware of this just in the last day or two, and so I took time to start reading. I haven't read the complete bill, but I strongly encourage people to pull it up and take a look, because at a minimum, it provides a framework for which people can learn about this industry and the opportunities that can be provided if we fight and push for them. So I like the way it's broken down and has some specifics and even references things that have been done so that people can learn more about this. We're going to go to the phone line and take Reverend Calhoun. You're on with Will Sutton, and, of course, Congressman Troy Carter.
Good morning, gentlemen. My question is simple, Congressman. Research dollars to Black and Hispanic, university. How far down is that? I don't see those dollars coming into our universities. when we look at what MIT and Stanford and all of those people are doing in research, and then we look back at how those things that affect us are not being done in research, we don't even have any idea what those other universities are doing. So I'm just thinking about what does it, are we getting a real fair share of research dollars? The second question, Will, is what I really called in about, is it seems that law and order does not apply to those people that's supposed to be holding law and order as the standard. Ms. Morrell publicly intimidated those people, and I guarantee you there are a lot more that, the leadership at the presidential level, it's about intimidation and retaliation. So, Doc, just let me know, are we getting anywhere near a fair share for research dollars? I'll talk with you later.
All right. Lord's blessings. Have a good day. Congressman?
Thank you, Reverend Calhoun. And the answer is no, we're not. The answer is no, we're not. But I'll take it a step further. I have long been an advocate and a strong voice against this White House who has threatened and has in the past cut research dollars for the National Institute of Health, NIH, which is ridiculous. I've taken to task the president. I've taken to task Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for his position on the reduction of funds for AIDS research, cancer research, sickle cell anemia, to slow down those dollars. I recently wrote a letter to him encouraging them to ensure that those research dollars for sickle cell anemia not suffer any lapses between appropriations. As you know, last week we spoke about the incredible work at LCMC with the Manning's Children's Hospital that Mr. Cressy, Daniel Cressy, young African-American man from Louisiana, the first person in Louisiana to be cured from sickle cell anemia. That's from research dollars. We have to continue to fight to make sure that these research dollars flow, but now they've got to flow into HBCUs and HSIs because they're disproportionately left behind. And that's what the Educate bill talks about in the specific area of cannabis. But in Educate, we talk about that. But beyond Educate, I am continuously fighting to make sure that research dollars are not only not cut, but are increased, because the more research we put into medical technology and medical science, the better we have at curing dreaded diseases and saving lives.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman, for that answer. We're going to go to the phone line again. We got Congressman, we've got Alicia on the line. Good morning, Alicia. You're on with Will Sutton and Congressman Troy Carter.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Fabulous. Hope you're
Good morning.
Congressman, I have a couple of things. Number one, I'm still upset that the Democrats don't get to the media, but you have the Speaker of the House who gets up there and he's such a lapdog of the president. It's embarrassing. But I want to say, when you talk about the marijuana, I hope you all get it together with education and legalese, because our people are still going to jail, whereas other people in other areas of the country making gazillions of dollars selling and farming marijuana. So I hope y'all can get that with those two things connected. Number two, the fact that we are still having here in New Orleans low-paying hospitality jobs. I've been on a big front to push the unions Earn While You Learn program, and they don't have to pay to go to Delgado, whereas we need these VOTEC education back in our junior high schools and senior high schools for free. But the program that the unions have, Earn While You Learn, it is phenomenal, and it can help some of our people get off the streets and then get into higher paying jobs and positions. Lastly, in 1776, my plumber, 3 times great-grandfather, was 10 years old. He was a white man, enslaver, and they had none but land up there in Warrenton, North Carolina. They came from his father and grandfather came from England, went to Pennsylvania, then to North Carolina. He fathered my 2 times great-grandfather. So what do we have to celebrate for 250 years of this racist country? What do we as black people, as indigenous people, have to celebrate for? Nobody's talking about that. Everybody wants to just act like everything is so nice and lily white and everything is so great and has been great for 250 years, and it has not been great. So I hate to put you on a thing for this, but what do we have to celebrate for? I'll hang up and listen. Have a great holiday weekend, if that's what you're calling your holiday. And thanks for all that you do, Congressman, always.
All right. Thanks,
God bless you, Sister Alicia. You said a lot. You said a lot, as always, that's thoughtful and provocative and stuff that needs to be said and needs to be heard. You want to clear that?
Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. As always, your commentary is always very thoughtful and provocative, and it needs to be said. And I appreciate you always having the courage to say it. Listen, and you're correct. It is, and I've said this before, so we are on the same page. 250 years celebrating is great and fine and dandy, but as we know, those 250 years have not been always good for African Americans, minorities, women, and so it is certainly it warrants discussion to talk about what is it that we're celebrating when we know that so much of that 250 years we were not a part of the equation, certainly not in a fair, equitable way, not as equal humans way. Women from suffrage, African Americans in slavery, fighting for the right to vote, fighting for the right to exist. And here we are in 2026. I saw a clip from Andy Young yesterday on a news story where he said, now this is the former mayor of Georgia, New Orleans native, the former ambassador to the UN, a serious and major leader in civil rights who walked side by side with Dr. King and John Lewis on Edmund Pettus Bridge, and very much the heart and breath of everything civil rights. And he said, and I quote, "These days are the worst days of my life." These days, 2026, is worse than anything he's ever seen before. This is a man who was spat on. This is a man who was close enough to hear the whistle of the bullet that shot Dr. Martin Luther King. This is the man who had dogs biting and hoses blaring down on them. And he said, this 2026 is the worst ever. So I share your view. What are we celebrating in the 250 years when our freedoms are still challenged? What are we celebrating when our very existence is still being threatened by a Supreme Court who's complicit, who yesterday, or day before yesterday, ruled that birthright citizen is, in fact, constitutional, but by a 6-3 vote. It should have been unanimous. Yeah, we're at risk, man. 250 years, great. Yes, 250 years, great. Hooray. That's great. Our country turns 250, and that's wonderful. But our country still has a lot of work to do, and those 250 years haven't been good for us. And so while we acknowledge, yes, it's a birthday, and yes, we do have the greatest nation in the world, no question about it, comparatively, but it hadn't been great for us. It hadn't been great for African Americans. It hadn't been great for women. It hadn't been great for minorities. And under the Trump administration, many of the gains that were made by the freedom fighters and the good people of all backgrounds who stood, marched, walked, died, are watching it slip away. And so Alicia is absolutely right. And we need more people to think and feel like Alicia does, and to arm up, not with weapons, not with bats, not with sticks, but arm up with voter registration cards. Arm up with our anger to change things, and we change things by electing people who are willing to fight for us, not people who are complacent or complicit, not people who would play along like some of our Republican colleagues do, even though they know Trump is wrong. Listen, elect Republicans who will subscribe to a Republican ideology, but not subscribe to a tyranny or a backwards, misogynistic, oligarch-loving, despot wannabe president.
Congressman, I want to get to the NFIP before we got to let you go, and we got a caller who knows a little something about this, so we'll use that as a segue. Good morning, Ashley Shelton. You're on with Will Sutton and Congressman Troy Carter, and we're talking about NFIP, but you're out dealing with some flood issues now, I think.
Good morning.
I know. I said me and the congressman are going to be together a couple of times this weekend talking about the
That's right.
his birthday.
Our orbits keep getting closer and closer and closer. We're swinging in the same direction, trying to save the world.
That's it. And I'm always proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you to fight for what's right. And
all right, we got about 3.5 minutes. So let's. I want to hear from you, and I want to make sure the congressman has a few words about the NFIP as well. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, no, and so really quickly, one, I want to thank the congressman for this piece of legislation, because I think that folks don't realize that, in the state that is, so disaster prone, we are, people are really struggling and really hurting. And we just had Tropical Storm Arthur come through and had severe impact, but there was only 17 inches of rain. And so it doesn't actually qualify for a federal declaration. And so all of these folks that have had significant water damage, significant wind damage, are struggling. And so trying to work with, some of the smaller parish presidents to see if there's some temporary housing funds so that folks can try to at least be in a safe place while they try to rebuild their homes. And so we are really, as we have now entered hurricane season, we've got a lot of things for folks to be prepared for and to be thinking about. But thanks again, Congressman Carter, for your leadership on NFIP, because the National Flood Insurance Program is a key thing that supports homeowners, as they try to navigate, disaster recovery.
Congressman?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you for the great work that you do.
God's blessings.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Ashley, thank you for the great work that you do. Ashley is amazing. We find ourselves more and more on panels together all over the state. And the great work that the Power Coalition does and illuminating issues of concern, encouraging people to get out and vote and participate, fighting for resources for the people is something that I'm so proud to work closely with her and the organization on. And what the NFIP does, the Transparency Act, is just what it is. We see that these flood insurance programs, national flood insurance programs with these weird algorithms that have increased exponentially people's rates to the extent that many people own their homes outright, could no longer afford to live in them because the rates are so high. And I'm proud that this is a bipartisan bill that I'm honored to share and to work in concert with, as my co-authors are Representative Cleo Field, my dear friend and colleague from here in Louisiana, Representative Mike Ezell, a Republican from Mississippi, and Rob Bresnahan, a Republican from Pennsylvania, recognizing that NFIP and the faults and the flaws and the errors in it, these rising waters don't recognize party. They don't recognize race. And we know, as Ashley said, after the most recent storm, people are suffering. We continue to fight for making sure that there's transparency. If you're going to have these rates and you're not sharing with us how you come up with them, that's been the biggest part of this. Tell us how you're arriving at these rates. They're exponentially increasing. You're not telling us why. You're not giving us credit for the things that we've done to fortify our levees, or even the fortified roofs, or all of the myriad of other remedial measures that have been taken. Where is the credit being given to us where if we do these remedial things, we need to see reduction in the rates as a result of it? But it's hard to modify or to even manage if you're going in the right direction if you don't share with us the formula or the algorithm and how you arrived at the rates. Heretofore, this administration has not shared that with us. So what the Transparency Act will do is it will force these premiums to demonstrate. Each person, here is why, and here's what you can do to make it better. It's yet another attempt at getting our arms around these ever-rising insurance prices. As you know, we talk about this all the time. Flood insurance is a product of the federal government. Property and casualty is a product of the state government. So the federal government, we will continue doing our part to fight against flood insurance. We'll continue to support and to help our brothers and sisters in the state legislature as they grapple with our insurance commissioner and ways to lower property and casualty. But we have to continue to fight, to push for declarations of emergency, as President Trump agreed to a letter that was written by our entire delegation, and the president just agreed to declare and to release funds to assist with the most recent disaster, which will go a long way to helping people rebuild their homes and their lives. But the effort doesn't stop. We have to continue writing legislation, pushing it forward. I'm very proud of the NFIP Premium Transparency Act that is co-sponsored along with me with Representative Cleo Fields, a Democrat from Louisiana, as we all know, Mike Ezell, Republican from Mississippi, and a Republican Mike Bresnahan from Pennsylvania, again demonstrating that floodwaters know no race, know no party, know no zip code, and we have a responsibility to fight to make sure people have lower rates, and that's what it does.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for spending some time with us as you regularly do on Thursday mornings on Good Morning Show. And I know that you'll be in town for the Essence Fest and Essence adjacent events and activities. I look forward to seeing you out there somewhere, sometime. But I know you'll be. Yeah, we got lots of activities,
lots of activities, lots of panel discussions, lots of empowerment, and mixed in the middle of there, we'll have some fun, have some good music and food too. So get out there, be safe, have fun, take advantage of the music, but also take advantage of the opportunity to listen and be a part of some of the very dynamic speakers and panel discussions and empowerment seminars that Essence is so well known for. God bless you. God bless WBOK. Thank you, Brother Will.
All right. Lord's blessings. Have a fabulous day. All right, folks, we got to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have none other than our homeboy, Damon Hewitt, the president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Yep, he's here. He's our homeboy, but he's been working in Washington, D.C. on our behalf for quite some time. But he's in town for a few days. No coincidence, it's Essence Festival. And we've had some rather troubling rulings out of the Supreme Court. We're going to have some conversation with him about that. Talk line number 504-582-9422. This is WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Real talk. I look forward to Essence Festival every single year. This year, July 3rd through the 5th. New Orleans Essence Festival of Culture is back for 2026 and is presented by Coca-Cola. This lineup, man, Cardi B, Patti LaBelle, Brandy and Monica together, George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, Kalani, Lotto, Leon Thomas, Public Enemy, and Babyface. I need you to understand what this weekend feels like. The energy, the fashion, and man, oh man, the food. New Orleans is already magic, and Essence makes it super natural. However you're getting there, wherever you're coming from, you need to be in that building July 3rd through the 5th. Go to essencefestival.com right now. Get your tickets. Do not wait.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am Will Sutton, and it is 8:08 a.m. Got somewhere to be at 8:10. You got just 2 minutes, so I hope one of those places is on the other side of your bed so you can just slide on over, grab a quick drink, and fire up that laptop and be at work. If you don't have it like that, you got to leave somewhere at 8:15 or 8:30. You got a few more minutes. But, look, the weather is changing out there, so make sure you're prepared for the day. Take care of your own personal business at your home and not in the car. Don't be distracted. Don't be a crazy driver. Make sure you get where you're going and get there safely. Look, before the break, I promised that we would have one of our homeboys coming in. We've got Damon Hewitt, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, commonly known as the Lawyers Committee. And always good to see the brother back home, and good to see him on TV and this and that and the others, talking the talk and making sure he's one of the folks fighting for our rights. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Will. It's always good to talk to you, but also to be in your physical presence is a true blessing this morning.
Well, we're glad to see you again. I'm glad to see you. I always enjoy the conversation, whether it's on air or off.
Right. There's a lot of behind the scenes.
And sometimes by text. Because something's always happening. And I know you're a big reason you're in town is because of some of everybody else who's in town connected to Essence Festival. It's a really good time, really good place for people to see each other and connect. And yes, there's a big festival going on, but you and others are also here because a number of other people that you work with you may not see as often.
Exactly.
And they are here. And it also allows you an opportunity to see other people who you might not see because you're so busy. So kind of speak to that. Why is home a good place for you and other people to be? Because Essence Fest is in town.
Well, I have many selfish reasons. You know, you see family, you reimmerse yourself in the culture that made you, and the people that made you, and it's actually grounding and humbling. You know, people think, "Oh, you're going back home. You the mayor of the North." I was like, no. There's many mayors. Right. Like you come here not to be a king. You come here to remind yourself not to lose the common touch, just to reconnect with folks. But also, you know, the Essence Fest is used to be just the concerts, right? Then it was, you know, the festival of music and culture. And so people, there's a lot of different things happening with Essence. We won't get into all of that. But the point is, our convening power as Black people, what we can do together as a collective is far greater than what we could do individually on small pockets. And so, you know, every time we come back, not just to the city, but to Essence in particular, during this time, I should say, we complicate our own narrative in a healthy way. You know, we reinvent. You know, some of the activations will be with Black Voters Matter. They'll be with some brothers from a podcast called Because We Feud. If you haven't seen this podcast, oh my goodness, these brothers are hilarious.
Yeah.
The language gets a little right, but they're hilarious.
Right.
but the thing is, they have the pulse of culture that can be accessed by young and old and everybody in between. And so that's what we're all reconnecting with. We're reconnecting with ourselves and each other.
Well, the Lawyers Committee, give a little overview about the Lawyers Committee, because sometimes people hear about the Lawyers Committee, hear from you at some particular flashpoints, as we have had in the recent days, but they may not understand kind of the work that you all do day in and day out.
Sure. Well, the Lawyers Committee was born in the flashpoint. It was 9 days after Medgar Evers was assassinated in Jackson, Mississippi. President John F. Kennedy put out a call. He said, "Where are the lawyers?" So he asked lawyers from around the country, from what we call the private bar, from law firms and whatnot, because we didn't have so many nonprofits back then, to come together to get in the game on civil rights. And so you had in the room a number of white lawyers, of course, given the time, but you'd also had Black lawyers like John Conyers before he was in Congress. You had Ernest Dudge Morial, who was leading the local New Orleans NAACP at the time and had to be, I would imagine, on alert for his life after his friend Medgar was just killed, murdered, right, and at his own home. So these lawyers, Black and white, went to the White House on June 21st, 1963, and that created a committee of lawyers, or the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. What started as a small group of just a couple hundred lawyers has expanded to a large staff, but also a nationwide network of pro bono lawyers. So we leverage, over the last 63 years, we leverage lawyers from the private bar, from law firms and elsewhere, to get into the work, whether you're a solo lawyer hanging up your own shingle or whether you are attached to some big major law firm. We've leveraged over 1 million hours of pro bono support for civil rights and racial justice cases from these lawyers over the last decade alone. So that's our force multiplier. And so we're involved in voting rights. We co-lead the Election Protection Coalition, the 866 Our Vote hotline, which has been so instrumental, including here in Louisiana, for voter access and nonpartisan voter information and support. We are working on what we call digital justice. We're suing Meta, the parent company of Facebook, for algorithmic bias in advertising online. We're also introducing legislation to regulate that industry because it's not regulated at the federal level. And we also were the only civil rights organization to argue on behalf of Black students in the Harvard and UNC Chapel Hill affirmative action cases, the higher ed admissions cases a few years ago. That was a loss, but it was important to lift up the voices of students, our students. And we didn't do it just in the Supreme Court. We litigated those cases for 9 years. And that positioned us to do this other piece of work, which is managing the fallout of that Supreme Court decision. It's happening on college campuses, but it's also happening in the workplace as diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives are dismantled, people are out of jobs, and it's almost as if there's a pendulum shift, there's a pretty violent shift, right? And so we're advising hundreds of nonprofits on how to keep your race-conscious work going, but we also will assume the heck out of the Trump administration, which adopted these anti-DEI executive orders. In the trilogy of cases, we have challenged these executive orders, and we're winning every time. So the pathway to justice is not linear. It's not like you win one case and it's done. It's more like your great grandmother's patchwork quilt. You're going to have different squares here and there, and that's what we're patching together. We're patching together in voting rights and democracy and digital justice and diversity, equity, inclusion, opportunity. We're patching together a quilt to cover our people because we certainly need it right now.
So you do identify the Lawyers Committee as a civil rights organization, but it's actually broader than that because it's voting rights, social rights, justice rights. Is that correct? And you're different from some other civil rights organizations that might be that are membership based, and there's some common threads on some things, but you have your individual focuses. Speak about that.
Sure. So where civil rights is a broad frame, yes, I like to think of us as part of the vanguard of the modern day racial justice movement because we're connected to movement organizers as much as we are lawyers as well. And look, there's so many amazing organizations and no one organization can do it alone. Our aim is to make the whole greater than the sum of the individual impressive parts. So, for example, we represent the NAACP in its state conferences, the state branches, more than probably any other organization around the country. After the Louisiana v. Calais case, which I know our good friend Ashley Shelton was deeply involved in as a plaintiff and as an advocate, after that decision set us back, to say the least, in terms of voting rights, we joined forces to represent the NAACP, to represent the National Urban League, even brought in the Legal Defense Fund as co-counsel to bring the first post-Calais challenge to racial gerrymandering. That's in Tennessee, where they singled out the only black House Representatives district in Tennessee and cracked it and split black folks 3 different ways to try to dilute our voting power. So we did that together with other organizations as a united civil rights front. And we don't have membership, but NAACP does. We don't have membership, but Urban League does. We have civil rights in-house legal expertise. Not all the other organizations do. And so it's really about a synergy, Will. It's really about putting the puzzle pieces together to try to advance our cause.
Well, let's hop into one of the things you all been dealing with for quite some time. And so the public, gets to hear about the results sometime, or as we get closer to it, then in news reports about look out for this. But this is something you've been well aware of for some time, and that is that SCOTUS, the United States Supreme Court, was considering the TPS program, and that came to a conclusion just a few days ago, having a significant impact on Haitians and Syrians. I think, oftentimes in the last several days, people are talking about the Haitian part, but there's Syrians who have been affected as well. So I'll stop talking there because you're far more knowledgeable about where this came from and how we got to a very strange ruling.
Very strange, and as you said, also very predictable. And just by the numbers, let me just take a step back. Congress, United States Congress, created a statute to allow for temporary protective status for people who are fleeing conditions in their home countries that were not safe, whether it be a civil war or violence. Sometimes, it will be drug overlords. Sometimes it will be just outright civil war, or whether it be massive natural disaster like earthquakes or major hurricanes or flooding that decimate the built environment and also individual people and disrupts their lives. So this isn't just like a whim of a prior president. This is a congressionally created statutory provision. Now, I will say that prior administrations really ramped up the use of TPS, but I believe appropriately so. And so if there's anything that we know as we approach this nation's 250th anniversary this week, is that we're still in this pitched battle about who belongs, who's worthy, who has merit, just like the affirmative action cases, right? And so that struggle continues. And so there's a contingent of people in this country who are dead set on otherizing, people who say you don't belong, you don't deserve to be here. And what they do is they sell other people a bill of goods to say, because those people are here, it hurts you, which is an actual lie, right? It actually helps us. It makes us richer country culturally. It makes us richer in terms of wealth, frankly. And there's hardworking people, 350,000 Haitians and about 6,000 Syrians in this country who followed the rules and followed the law. So that's the program that allowed people to come here because they were fleeing Assad in Syria or natural and other man-made disasters in Haiti. And so this whole political project of otherizing people in a very racialized way is something that has existed for a very long time. And of course, the irony is that some of the people who are pushing that type of agenda, their ancestors were also otherized. There was a time in this country where if you were Irish, if you were Italian, you were looked down upon. They didn't have access to whiteness as a property interest, as the critical race theory scholars say. But now you fast forward, a century or so, and all of a sudden people who have access to being in what they consider the mainstream of whiteness, they're looking at everybody else as the other. And how can we cut off the other? There is no addition by subtraction in this country. Kicking people out does not make us better, does not make us safer, does not make us stronger. It only divides us and it only weakens us.
Well, I'm still researching for more information, but I think there's somewhere about 5,000 Haitians in Louisiana and about 1,500 Syrians in Louisiana. So it's not as though this doesn't affect us.
That's right.
In Louisiana. Obviously, there are way more Haitians in Florida and South Florida in particular, and the Syrians have places in the United States where they are more heavily populated. But when you just think about the numbers of these folks nationally, it's a lot of people. It may not be you, but if you think about it and you think about, okay, why them? Who else does it include? Who could it include? All of a sudden we get to even bigger numbers.
That's right. And who is impacted, right? In concentric circles beyond that. 350,000 Haitians, if 350,000 people left New Orleans proper, left Orleans Parish, you'd feel that, right, in a very concentrated way. And just because people are concentrated in different places makes it no less impactful. But here's the human impact that is not talked about enough in the mainstream media. It's not just the legal battle. It's not just the kind of principles of democracy and belonging that I talked about. It's what happens to people who have temporary protected status, who followed the rules and were not in the shadows. This forces them into this catch-22. Do I essentially report and self-deport, or do I go into the shadows because I need to keep making money for my family to send back home, or my family that's here? It forces people into what will then be alleged to be criminal activity, quote unquote. I hate the phrase, but I say it because this is what they say: illegal aliens. Right. That deeper otherizing. So it essentially, this is what Trump is doing. There's another companion case that we may not talk about much, but where the Supreme Court also allowed the Trump administration to turn people away at the border as they present themselves for asylum. Basically, what they're saying is, we're going to catch you coming and going. If you're coming in, we're not going to let you come in. And if you're already here, we're essentially going to turn a status that we created as a country and that we offered to you, and now say, if you don't self-deport, you're now a criminal because you're here illegally. That is foul. That's a cruel joke.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit more about this. But I want to talk about birthright. That's another one. The ruling went the way it is, but 4? Y'all just think about 4 out of 9 justices for a moment while we go into break who wanted to see this proceed. So just think about that. It's 8:24 a.m. Now it's 8:25. Got to be somewhere at 8:30. Take your time. Make sure that you get there. You want to weigh in on some of this, feel free to call the talk line. Make sure it's on task, on subject, please. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. So at the end of the show, I want to hear what y'all doing for Essence Festival weekend. Are you avoiding all of it and just staying home? Are you going to watch something on live stream? Are you going to go to every day thing you can and every night thing? When are you going to sleep? What are you doing for Essence Fest weekend? So I would like to hear some of that before we end the show. So be thinking about that. Fire up the lines. Let us know a little later on. But right now we're talking to Damon Hewitt, who is the head of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. We'll be back after the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Kubel, and here are today's headlines for you. Attorney General Liz Murrill is doubling down on letters sent to New Orleans leaders after hearing she may be the subject of a grand jury investigation. The investigation centers on letters the AG sent to Mayor Helena Moreno, DA Jason Williams, and members of City Council. That is after Mayor Moreno called for a special election and appointed an interim clerk after a bill consolidating court clerks passed. The letters urge them to cooperate with newly passed Act 15 legislation or lose their jobs. The AG says she hasn't been notified of the investigation and that she stands by the letters. Well, this year's Essence Festival kicks off the July 4th weekend, and the Essence Festival media kickoff is at 9:30 this morning at the Convention Center. While you're enjoying all of the culture, the music, and the food, festival leaders do want you to stay safe. There is a Designate Before You Celebrate campaign. The goal is to prevent serious injuries and deaths on the roads during the holiday weekend. And that's a look for you at today's headlines.
Hey, everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do. Every Monday is Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long.
This is The Law in Your Legacy. I'm attorney Pete Hamilton.
I'm attorney Ryan Hamilton.
If you had $1 million, would you leave it to an 18-year-old?
Hopefully not, but that's exactly what can happen with a simple will. The money goes straight to your kids when they hit the legal age, no guardrails.
A trust lets you control when and how they receive their inheritance. You can set ages, milestones, or even make sure they finish school first.
Give them security, not a spending spree.
This is not legal advice. That's just a tip brought to you by Liberty Bank and Trust. For more information, go to libertybank.net or contact us at 504-915-5016.
This is Andronika Morris, host of Put Housing First. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, where we will discuss how housing affects every aspect of our lives and what's necessary, what's needed to guarantee housing for all. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock as we dig down deep onto the issues that affect all of us.
Guess what, y'all? Community Book Center, after 14 years, is once again the official bookstore of the 2026 Essence Festival. I'm Vera Warren Williams, founder of Community Book Center. Please join us at the Ernest Morial Convention Center, July 3rd through the 5th, for Black culture's biggest weekend. We also invite you to visit our store at 2523 Bayou Road, along with the other Black businesses on historic Bayou Road. Community Book Center, more than a bookstore.
Well, saints of God, this is Pastor David Impartan Sr. coming to you over the airways of WBOK, your favorite host of Change Your Water, Change Your Mind. I want to invite you to our show every Saturday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. That's Change Your Water, Change Your Mind. I want you to invite your family and friends to a broadcast that's designed to change your life, the way you think, the way you act, and what you eat. We want you to tune in every Saturday at 1 o'clock, WBOK, 1230 a.m. See you on Saturday.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
More 90s, feeling like the 100s, and daily scattered showers expected. We'll see highs today, 90 to 95 degrees, feeling like 100 to 105 in some spots. A few scattered showers are possible later this morning on into the afternoon. Some of these could contain some heavy downpours, but it won't be an entire washout for the day. 74 to 80 degrees for tonight. For tomorrow, 91 to 97. For the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven.
Good morning. Wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm Will Sutton. It's 8:31 a.m. We are in conversation with Damon Hewitt, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. We're talking about the SCOTUS ruling, the Supreme Court ruling about Haitians and Syrians in particular. And then we're going to get into some conversation about the ruling about birthright citizenship, which is scary. But before we do that, Damon, tell us about the impact on these folks with this ruling. I think one of the things that happens with things generally, people tend to have a visualization of what a Haitian is, or what a Syrian is, or what a Jamaican is, or and oftentimes it's like all of them are not what you think. But yes, you got white poor people, black poor people, black poor Haitians, black poor Syrians. But you got a lot of other folks who, everybody ain't rich, but they're doing good middle-class work, upper middle-class work. But some of them are also affected.
That's right. People all over. I mean, there's a heavy concentration of Haitian TPS holders in the healthcare industry. Right. So it could be high-ranking medical professionals. It could be people who are doing the important and dignified work of helping clean the bedpan, right? Taking care of people, right? Regardless of what it is. So folks are all over. And, right now, in terms of immediate impacts, people have to be deeply worried. The temporary protective status doesn't end immediately just because of the Supreme Court decision, but it could still happen rather quickly. The lower courts will have to come in and finalize their parts of the rulings in light of the Supreme Court mandate, and then the U.S. government, Homeland Security, will have to take action as well. That action could look a lot of different ways. It could look like rolling up on your house or your workplace, saying, "Hey, we got you." It could be to serve a notice. It could be to take people away literally if they're past the notice. But a lot of folks are saying folks probably have about a month. About a month to get your whole life right, to get your affairs in order. And that's just not possible because some people have been here for years, which is part of the other side's argument. Oh, this is supposed to be temporary, but they're here for a long time. Look at what people did in that time. So you can't be here on TPS loafing and chilling. You can't be here on TPS. What's that language they've always used? A burden to society. Mm-hmm. These are people who contribute more to society than probably half of the folks who vote for some people on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. And so, what happens immediately is that people will likely start to be served notices in the next month. Because, again, these aren't folks who are they may be scattered a bit geographically, but the federal government knows exactly who they are, where they are, and what they're doing. These are people who are not in the shadows. And a great question, a great worry that folks like me have is, will people now retreat to the shadows in an effort to try to stay in the country, putting themselves further in jeopardy? And then, again, as I said earlier, essentially giving the government a license to say you're engaged in criminal activity or to criminalize the person.
Okay, so let's talk about another ruling. There were several, but birthright citizenship. And of course, this is one of the significant ways that Donald Trump increased his national reputation by charging that President Barack Obama wasn't a U.S. citizen, therefore he shouldn't be president, because he didn't have, according to Trump's reading, didn't have the right to be a citizen and couldn't therefore be a U.S. president. And he kept on that. Well, he's actually never let it go, which has led, in my opinion, to the Supreme Court case. And what a ruling.
What a ruling. So the ruling came down the right way in terms of the majority, at least 5. The official count is 6-3, but it's really 5-4 in terms of the basic principle of what the law says. So again, in the land of what's hard, this is not hard. This should be really easy. The Constitution is clear, in particular the 14th Amendment, that all persons born and naturalized in the United States are citizens. So that should be end of story, period. With a T and a dot at the end, as they say, right? But what Trump is doing, what some folks have claimed, and what unfortunately large number of Supreme Court justices have done, even though they didn't get their way this time, is they are actually reviving a decades old, if not centuries old, line of thinking and argument that really is all about who belongs and who is deserving. You think about the infamous case Dred Scott v. Sanford, where Dred Scott sued for his freedom. He said, "Look, I'm free. I'm a citizen." And what the Supreme Court said is that the Negro has no rights which the white man is bound to respect. You are not a citizen. You can't be. Look at you. You're one of them. That's essentially the same type of backwards logic and thinking, the same type of racist logic and thinking. This president, the current president, has a politics of white nationalist aggrievement. We now have an emerging jurisprudence from the courts to match that, right? So that's what this is all about. And of course, you don't have to be white, black, whatever. I think Clarence Thomas is a great example of this, Justice Thomas, that, this othering, this backwards thinking comes in all shapes and forms and sizes. But the targets are going to be the people who are othered, just like Haitian nationals, just like Syrians. Same thing here with birthright citizenship, an issue that was settled, decided by the Constitution, by the 14th Amendment, and even in the Supreme Court many, many years ago.
So you mentioned one of the black justices. There's another black justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson. And on the surface, I think most of us, meaning us black folk, would think that on something like this, we would be on the same side, regardless of politics. But that's not what happened. So Jackson was a concurring justice on the pro-majority ruling side. Clarence Thomas was not only a no vote and a dissenter, but he seemed to take this to even more of an extreme, using his view of historical reconstruction to say we have to look at this deeper, and it's not right. It's not simply a matter of where you were born. And Ketanji Jackson, I think, was like, this is clear. If you're born on U.S. soil, and not only the continental United States, then you are, by birth, a citizen. Am I close to right? And how could this possibly be that these two intelligent black folks end up in these different places?
It happens in almost every Supreme Court decision. So there's a long road to get here. And, they have not only different lived experiences, but, there's been all types of writing and telling about how Justice Thomas has been captured. You know, when I teach law students, sometimes I'll give them a quote, and I'll ask them to tell me who it's from. And the quote, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact language in front of me, it is to the effect of, "It never ceases to amaze me how courts can assume that because something is black, that it is somehow inferior." Now, when you hear that, you think, oh, that's a judge who's focused on uplifting the black community. But that quote came from Clarence Thomas in a 1995 case, the last school desegregation case to go before the Supreme Court, a case called Missouri v. Jenkins. And what he was saying is, it doesn't matter that these schools are de facto segregated. It doesn't matter. It's okay. This is about K through 12 schools, not HBCUs, right? It's about K through 12 schools. And so what he was saying is that the plaintiffs, the black plaintiffs, should lose because to hold otherwise will suggest that black institutions are inferior. That is twisted. That's backwards. It sounds like a black nationalist rallying cry, but it certainly is not. It's twisted. So it goes to the very point that you're making in the question you're asking, Will. How can two black people of lineage that is not so different come out in very, very different ways? It's really about, frankly, who is still grounded in the lived experience of black people and who's been captured by some attractive ideology where they'll put you on private jets and planes and fully paid for vacations that you selectively decide not to report and disclose as federal judges are supposed to. So I just think there's a capture there. We could probably spend a whole 2 hours on the mindset, the psyche of this son of Georgia who has grown up to, it seems like, to despise black people, but certainly hurt us.
So a good ruling, even with a 5-4, at least it's a favorable ruling. But with 4 justices on any issue, it seems like an opening for later litigation to say, here's some roadmaps, people, for what you need to do to get us there and with our help. Are you seeing that with these 4 justices?
Definitely seeing that. The roadmap could go in a couple of different avenues. One is, let's come up with a slick new argument that may convince an Amy Coney Barrett, right, or someone else. The other avenue, though, is what's already been happening the last couple of decades. Let's just get more justices who will do what we want as a conservative, hyper-conservative, radical ideology. There's people who talk about court expansion as a way to address this out-of-control Supreme Court, and I agree it is out of control. If there was expansion by conservatives, we'd see opinions that were not 5-4, 6-3 ever in favor. It will be 8-1 or 9-0 against, right? I mean, could you imagine the Supreme Court handing down the ruling that we got in Brown v. Board of Education that was 9-0 unanimous on a very basic principle that what happened to Homer Plessy here in Louisiana shouldn't happen to anyone else, that separate is inherently unequal? I cannot imagine this court having a unanimous ruling in favor of that principle, especially looking at, because again, that was based on the Equal Protection Clause, Will. The 14th Amendment itself, right? The same amendment that was at issue in the Birthright Citizenship, different clause, but same constitutional amendment. That is the law of the land. I cannot imagine a 9-0 if Brown v. Board would be presented to this court today. So what you're pointing to and what you're seeing, and everyone should understand, is the law is not linear. Progress is not a straight line. There is a deep fragility, just like we've seen in voting rights specifically. What you have today, what we have today, what we fought for decades, can easily be taken away. And so our modern day work in this civil rights and racial justice movement is to fight back against that, but also fight forward to what's next. And so we're spending more and more of our time on that, thinking about what's next in terms of what might the other side do, to your question, but also what do we need to do? This is not something you queued up for me, but I do think it's important to say, because we're here in New Orleans, we're here during the Essence Fest weekend, but also we're here at the nation's 250th anniversary. This is the time for us to radically reimagine what black political power looks like.
And you're the high-powered, super smart attorney. But part of this is tied to the 14th Amendment.
Yes.
Because without that, black people wouldn't have birthright citizenship. And so that's like all 40 plus million of us. But then there are other people who are black and non-black who have non-birthright parents, but who were born here. And there's hundreds of thousands of those folks. So when people hear this birthright citizenship thing, it's not just a Trump issue.
Right.
This is an us issue.
It is very deeply an us issue. It is what allows us to enjoy whatever rights we still have and have left in this country. It is foundational and fundamental. And one great irony, one great fear. Great irony is that Trump people tried to argue that, oh, well, birthright was just for formerly enslaved black people.
Mm-hmm.
The first, the only time they're talking about something for us.
Just
right?
them.
Yeah, just them. Not the Haitians, not Syrians, no one else. They're trying to drive a wedge and otherize other folks in a way that would try to get black folks on board with that otherization as a political project. Did not work. But the great fear is that any tinkering with 14th Amendment and what the plain language means could unravel other pieces. It could unravel the Equal Protection Clause, which they've already misinterpreted and misapprehended in the affirmative action cases and otherwise. And so this is why black civil rights groups really join forces with other litigants in this case and filing supportive amicus or friend of the court briefs, because we know this does not end well if allowed to continue.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to move this conversation from these various serious things to some serious and fun things, talking about the Essence Festival. I want to know what Damon Hewitt's going to be doing during Essence Festival. I want to know who you looking forward to seeing as a part of your work, and who you looking forward to seeing as a part of your fun.
All right.
All right. And we're going to hear from LBJ as well. We're going to hear from him. What is he going to be doing? That would be great. So we're going to break. When we come back, let's talk about that as we end the show. This is WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Just how badly did Trump trash the White House? Well, let me count the ways. The New York Times editorial describes the UFC Freedom 250 blood sports event on the White House lawn as a garish spectacle of American decline. The Independent News op-ed condemned the event as an unserious American cage fight. That's right, a $60 million UFC-sponsored brawl on the White House lawn to celebrate Trump's 80th birthday and a tribute to the nation's 250th anniversary. The country's 250th anniversary notwithstanding, this was all about Trump, along with the billionaire sycophants and others who came to pay homage to the would-be king. As a former CBS News White House correspondent, I'm accustomed to the pomp and circumstance of ceremonial receptions held in honor of dignitaries, both national and international. But I was stunned to see the People's House transformed into a beer-chugging brawl fest devoid of class and dignity. There were fights inside the ring, and then there was a drunken brawl outside the ring that resulted in an arrest. But perhaps the lowest point of the event occurred when UFC fighter Josh Hokett stood in the middle of the ring and called former First Lady Michelle Obama a man. The White House offered no apology. Nonetheless, the comment by Hokett drew widespread criticism. The remark, of course, is untrue, transphobic, and racist. But remember, Trump has also disparaged the Obamas, even posting an image of the former president and former first lady as primates on social media. In addressing the insults regarding the Obamas and the debacle on the White House lawn, podcaster Charlemagne the God put it best, saying, "The Obamas set a masterclass standard for decency, poise, and intelligence. And now, with Trump, that bar is in hell." This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
New Orleans never sleeps, and neither does WBOK. Now, every voice, every moment, and every show is in your pocket. Search WBOK Media wherever you get podcasts. Download, share, rate us 5 stars. Because when you support us, you amplify Black voices and the New Orleans culture.
Real talk. I look forward to Essence Festival every single year. This year, July 3rd through the 5th. New Orleans Essence Festival of Culture is back for 2026 and is presented by Coca-Cola. This lineup, man, Cardi B, Patti LaBelle, Brandy and Monica together, George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, Kalani, Lotto, Leon Thomas, Public Enemy, and Babyface. I need you to understand what this weekend feels like. The energy, the fashion, and man, oh man, the food. New Orleans is already magic, and Essence makes it super natural. However you're getting there, wherever you're coming from, you need to be in that building July 3rd through the 5th. Go to essencefestival.com right now. Get your tickets. Do not wait.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm Will Sutton, and I am here with Damon Hewitt, our homeboy. He's in town as president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under law. But he's also here. He's here for business, but he's here for some New Orleans culture and fun as well. So let's move from all that serious stuff, Damon, to what are you going to be doing during Essence Festival weekend? You're here already. Essence Fest doesn't start till the 3rd, but here you are, and you're going to be here for how long? What you looking forward to?
Man, hit through the weekend, and my official line is I'm out in the business streets, but there's cultural streets as well. I'm looking forward just to seeing people I haven't seen in a while, including family, which is always a blessing. And, supporting the events that other orgs are doing. We often do an event. We're not doing it this year because of all the, action in the court and business going on. But really supporting other culture bearers and other civil rights and racial justice advocates. I'm super excited to be at the convention center. I'll be on stage Saturday at 11:25 a.m. on the Global Black Economic Forum stage. If you can't make it in person, you can live stream online.
What time again is that?
11:25 a.m. Saturday morning.
Economic Forum.
On the 4th of July, the nation's 250th birthday.
Okay. All right.
So that's what I'll be. But also I want to see folks like Black Voters Matter and the Because We Feud guys who have that amazing podcast that's all about our culture.
All right. You going to see any acts?
I'm going to see some acts. You may see me in the Dome one of these nights. You may also see me at the jazz spot one of these nights, too,
All right.
outside the door.
Okay. All right. So we're going to jump to the phone line. And we've got LBJ, my man from Good Morning New Orleans at WGNO. And we got Damon Singleton, meteorologist for NOLA.com. Wake Up NOLA. LBJ, what are you going to be doing Essence Fest weekend?
Well, that gentleman just mentioned Global Black Economic Forum. I'm the voice of that stage for about the third or fourth year. So I'm there all weekend at the GBEF stage.
So that's where people can find you.
That's where folks can find me. I always say that, Essence has been called, for decades, the party with a purpose, and the GBEF stage is purpose central. Community leaders, political leaders, a little bit of everything. This year, I spoke with Alfonso David, the CEO of GBEF, and this year they've got a number of different things in addition to all those dynamic speakers and panels. They've got a couple of health fair things, initiatives with LCMC and everything. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. Every year I also try to put a little dust on the side, Will, because I know I want to walk through the marketplace and spend a few bucks.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I'm sure I'll do that and get some great food and everything. And the night shows, yesterday, I was really blessed to be able to hang out over at Studio B with George Clinton.
I saw that. I was like, whoa, I'm jealous.
It was so awesome. Well, here's the cool thing. They have a woman by the name of Vivian Scott Chu, who's a longtime George Clinton fan and co-collaborator and all. Her foundation has paid for a new mothership to be built. It was built in Nashville, shipped to New Orleans. It will land in the Superdome on stage Sunday night. So
all right, you might just got me to spend some money. All right, Damon Singleton. Good morning.
What's happening, y'all? Good morning.
What you going to be doing Essence Fest weekend?
Well, I got to tell you, LBJ is my classmate from St. Aug, and he didn't tell me anything about this. So I'm pissed right now.
Just like a friend.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, D. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Bro, we graduated together. How could you do this?
I'm sorry. Hey, meet me in the Dome Sunday night so we can watch the mothership land. That's all right, girl.
Where are you going to be hanging out, Damon?
Man, oh man. Well, I tell you, Will, there's of course, a lot going on. I'm looking at this party that's going on tonight. My neighbor, the councilman, has a mixer that's taking place on Friday, I think it is, that I'm trying to get to. And, the Brassaholics, one of my favorite bands, is playing at Tipitina's. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I have on the schedule right now, and hopefully I'll make it into the Dome as well, but we'll see.
All right. Well, maybe LBJ will let you know a little bit more about the schedule, where he'll be, and you might be able to pop in unless you so bruised that you don't see any of it.
Man, please forgive me, brother.
Oh,
please
man.
Forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me.
All right. Well, thank you guys for checking in. Look forward to seeing you at Essence Festival, Essence adjacent event. We're gonna say Lord's blessings to each of you and let you go. I know you got some other things to do, and we're gonna take one more call before we sign off. Lord's blessings, guys. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Will.
All right. We got time for one call, one short call. We got Timeless on the phone. Good morning, Timeless. You're on with Will Sutton on the Good Morning Show. We got about 30 seconds.
Greetings, good brother Will and good brother Damon.
All right.
We have, I just wanted to call in. I know that Dr. Gerald Horn was supposed to be on with you this morning, Will, and I just wanted to let Damon know while he's making his plans to refamiliarize himself with his the place of his birth, he should pass through Cafe Istanbul at 6 p.m. this evening.
Okay.
For a talk with Dr. Gerald Horn. It promises to be quite thrilling. And Damon, you and I took the battlefield in those post-Katrina days, in the education wars. Even though I had a plate at Anita's a time or two. But you have not met me as timeless. So I just wanted to reconnect with you, brother.
Holla at me, man.
Yes, I. You still at that 646 number?
Yes, sir.
Blessings. Baraka.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Timeless Lord's Blessings. Have a great day. That is going to do us for us on the Good Morning Show. Lord willing, I'll be bouncing up again tomorrow, but you won't catch me here at WBOK. You can catch me at Essence Festival and around and about. I'll be out there somewhere, bouncing from the marketplace to the economic summit to Suede for the men's thing and to some other things that are out and around the city. Promises to be a good weekend. Hope to have something up today for visitors who are visiting our wonderful city. I love when people come for Essence Fest, Bayou Classic, and other things, but I want to make sure that they know that there are some things that we have year-round in Black New Orleans. I want to tell them a little bit about that, so watch for that on NOLA.com. That's going to call it a wrap for today. Lord willing, I'll be back on Monday. This is WBOK 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.